Martello, our Pastor Emeritus, and myself, Father Michael Dink. I'm the associate here. I'd like to welcome you all to St. Joe's and wish you all a very happy Easter. You are all welcome here. So even if it's been a while since you've been to church, or if you don't have a place to call home, you can always call this your home. You're always welcome to St. Joseph, and we're so delighted to have you. On this Easter Sunday, we hear this gospel, this mysterious, this almost confusing gospel of how Mary goes to the tomb. And she's expecting to find the body of the Lord. And when she gets there, she realizes the tomb is empty. And she begins to panic. And so she runs to the disciples, and the first thought that crosses her mind is not the resurrection. The first thought that crosses her mind is, somebody stole his body. And we don't know where they put it. And then, of course, we know the other disciples come to the tomb, and they enter the tomb, and Peter enters first, and then the beloved disciple enters, and they see and believe. There's something about the mystery of the tomb that allows them to experience the resurrection. The reality is, we often don't get things the first time. The disciples themselves really didn't understand or get Jesus the whole time he was on earth. He kept trying to tell them, I am the Son of God. And they misunderstood him. And then he would tell them, I am going to die. And Peter got in front of him and said, no, Lord, you will not. And they misunderstood him. And then he said, I'm going to rise from the dead after 3 days. And they misunderstood him. They constantly seem to misunderstand him. And I think sometimes so do we. So to illustrate this example, I have a good friend here. This is Sooner. So this is a little dog named Sooner, a little dachshund. And this is his master trainer, the extra master trainer, Jeff. Now, one of the things I love about Sooner can do a couple tricks that I want to show you, and they both involve balls. Maybe one of my nieces could help me with this in case the ball gets loose. So I'm going to go down each aisle. Kelsey, can you help? Just go on the back in case the ball, Sooner's a little dog, and she's got a little mouth, so sometimes it's hard for her to get this in her mouth. But we're gonna just play a little game of fetch with her. Ready, Sooner? Ready? All right, bring it back. There we go. Almost. All right, we got one. Okay, ready, Sooner? Do it again. She got it that time. Bring it back, Sooner. This is going much better than the earlier match. I'm going to do it one more time here. Ready, Sooner? Ready. Oh, she caught it right away. All right, we're going to do it one more time. Now, this is the classic trick you do with a dog, right? It's the fake. Ready, Sooner? Ready? Look at her, she's so confused. It's kind of like Mary when she got to the tomb and she was expecting to find the body there and it wasn't. What do you do? Well, sometimes when we go to the tomb and we find nothing, we get disappointed, we get frustrated, we get angry. Does that ever happen to you when you come to Mass? Maybe you've come to Mass before and you got nothing out of it, you felt nothing, it felt like an empty tomb to you. The reality is, sometimes God does that because he wants to do something even greater for us. So in the resurrection, they experienced the empty tomb. It was kind of like God's fake out. But God actually had something better in store for them. Sooner's ready. Something that you might not even think is possible. Now, Sooner has trouble returning that little ball because her mouth is so small, but she can do something pretty amazing. She can fetch this big ball, believe it or not. Do you believe it? All right, ready, Sooner? Ready? One more time, 3 for 3. Give Sooner a round of applause. And give Jeff a round of applause. It's very important. Get out out of here sooner. I think in life, sometimes we get thrown for a loop. Sometimes our expectations aren't met. Sometimes we get disappointed. Sometimes we even get hurt. Maybe you feel like God has done some kind of fake out in your life. Over and over again, the disciples missed the point of who Jesus was. They didn't really get it the first time when he said, I am the Son of God. They didn't really get it when he said, I'm going to die and in 3 days I will rise again. Maybe you have been disappointed by God at some time in your life. Maybe you've been disillusioned by the church. Maybe you've been hurt by a priest. Maybe you've come to Mass and felt nothing and experienced an empty tomb. Maybe you've been away for a while and your heart just aches to feel something from God. Maybe, just maybe, God has a surprise for you. Something you never thought he could do. Maybe God does have something wonderful in store for you this Easter. If we believe. When Mary came to the tomb early in the morning, she felt nothing, she saw nothing, she thought his body must have been stolen. She didn't realize the deeper reality that he was risen. See, beyond what she was seeing or experiencing or even feeling, the reality was God was still risen, even though she wasn't experiencing it. And I'm sure there's sometimes, as I said before, you come to Mass or you come to church and you get nothing out of it or you feel nothing. But the reality is, God is still risen. And he's here. He's here in very profound ways. And the four classic ways that God is present to us in the Eucharist is, first of all, right here in the Word of God that we hear proclaimed at every Mass, at every single Mass, God speaks to you in the Word. But do we believe? Are we listening? Secondly, God is gathered in the gathered assembly. So in you, the believers in the body of Christ, God is present right now. He is risen. He is living right now in our midst because you are here, worshiping in faith. Third, God is present in the priest. So the priest stands in the person of Christ during the Eucharist, and God can be seen and God can be heard. And finally, in the most powerful and profound way in the altar, in just a few moments when the bread and wine are transformed into the body and blood of Christ, God is present. Now, the reality is, oftentimes we don't get it. Oftentimes we come and we see an empty tomb, or we say we get nothing out of Mass. But it doesn't change the reality of God being present here, and God being risen. And so, maybe you are someone that has been away from the faith for a while. Maybe you've been away from the church. Maybe you've been away from the sacraments. On Easter, we celebrate this resurrection, that God is alive, that God is real. And so I just invite you to give him another try. God is so much more than we can ever imagine. But the question is, are you willing to play fetch again with the Master? Are you willing to give him another chance? Are you willing to give him another try? There's 3 ways I'm going to offer you to do this. So the first way, the last 40 days, since Ash Wednesday until now, our whole parish has been doing a program called Pray 40 Days, where they have these wonderful personal encounters with God.
Look how much
So
I'm
parishioners that have
holding.
done Pray 40 Days, raise your hands so everybody can see who has done it here. If you have any idea or want to know what that's about, ask one of these parishioners and they will tell you what a wonderful experience they have had coming to know the risen Christ. The second thing I'm going to offer to you is to return to confession. So we're celebrating the Year for Mercy this year, and the church is inviting all of us to experience God's mercy in the most profound, wonderful way that we can, is confession. Now I know for many of you who maybe don't come to Mass regularly, some of you that may not be able to receive communion this Sunday, don't worry about it. But take the opportunity to go to confession. So this Saturday from 11 to noon we have confession, and on Sunday from 2 to 3 we have confession, and it'll be in the bulletin so you can read about it and remind yourself of it. But St. Faustina says that the greater the sinner, the more entitled they are to God's mercy. You are so entitled to God's mercy. God the Father wants to lavish you with his love. The prodigal father wants you to experience his mercy. So if it's been a year, or if it's been 2 years, or if it's been 20 years, or 30 years, or 40 years since you've gone to confession, Don't be afraid. As a matter of fact, come to God and experience His wonderful mercy. If you don't know what to do, say to the priest, Father, it's been 40 years since I've been to confession. I have no idea what to do. You're going to make that priest day. He's going to walk you through confession. And I just encourage you to get off your chest anything that you need to, especially the things that you're most afraid to confess. Get it off and be free. Why? Because if we are bogged down by sin, if we are burdened by sin, we will not be able to experience the resurrection. It's not until we're finally freed from our sin and forgiven of our sin that our eyes are opened and freed from sin and we begin to live this life of Christ. So the first thing was, pray 40 days. If you don't know what that is, ask someone to raise their hand. Go to my website, go to the parish website, look it up. It's 40 days from Easter Sunday till the Ascension. So you can start tomorrow and you can have this wonderful personal relationship with God you've always wanted. Second, I invite you to go to confession. If it's been years, please do yourself the wonderful luxury and gift of receiving God's mercy. And the third and final invitation is next Sunday at 3 p.m. is Divine Mercy Sunday. So if you can't receive the Eucharist today, go to confession, and then next Sunday when you receive the Eucharist, we're given a great promise from St. Faustina. Jesus told her and revealed to her, tell the whole world about my inconceivable mercy. I desire that the Feast of Mercy be a refuge and a shelter for all souls who approach the font of mercy. So confession is a refuge and a shelter for you. On that day, the Divine Mercy floodgates through which my graces flow are open. So next Sunday, Divine Mercy Sunday, the floodgates of God's mercy will be open for all of us. Let no soul fear to draw near to me, even though the sins be scarlet red. No matter how sinful you think you are, do not fear to draw close to God, because He wants to show you His mercy and love. So firstly, pray 40 days from now until the Ascension. Secondly, come to confession if it's been a while. Thirdly, experience divine mercy. I promise if you do these three things, you will experience the resurrected Christ. Maybe you feel like you've been used by God before. Maybe you felt like He's given you the faith. You know, He's faked you as well, just like the dog sooner or earlier. But the reality is, and the question is, are you willing to play fetch again with God? My brother-in-law's got a good, did you catch this, John?
Yeah.
Are you willing to play fetch with God? Thank you. Throw it back.
My bad.
And maybe God has something even better in store for you. Thank you. You're even better than sooner. So if it's been a while, if you've been away from the faith, if you're so desiring to experience God and His resurrection, you are so welcome back to Easter Sunday, especially next Sunday on Divine Mercy Sunday. The floodgates of mercy open for you, and God desires so much that you may see Him, that you may believe in Him, and that you may continue to play fetch with Him.